Video games are becoming increasingly demanding every year, but sometimes we just want to have some fun on our laptops or our school's potato PC without having to spend anything. If that's something you're looking for, here are 25 video games for low-end PC that don't even require a graphics card. Let's start this list with the best game you can play on a low-end PC, Team Fortress 2. I just want to get this one out of the way because, honestly, you guys already know about this legend. It's one of the most epic free-to-play shooters out there and still holds up even after all these years. The class-based gameplay is just so addicting. I mean, you could play as a sneaky spy backstabbing enemies or a heavy mowing down everything in sight, and the game's so full of humor. TF2 still has a thriving community that just refuses to let it die. The game is packed with unique maps, game modes, and so much more. And since it's been around forever, it runs on pretty much any PC, even without a graphics card. Then we have Brawlhalla, one of my favorite games to play on my laptop that doesn't even have a dedicated GPU, so I am pretty sure your potato PC can handle this one. It's a multiplayer brawler where you and your friends duke it out in some insanely addicting and tense matches, trying to throw each other off the platform. The combat is fast and ridiculously fun, kind of like Super Smash Bros, but free and actually playable on low-end PCs. There's a huge variety of characters, each with their own weapons and playstyles, so you'll definitely find one that fits your vibe. What makes Brawlhalla even better is that it's always being updated with new content. There are constant crossovers with characters from Assassin's Creed, Street Fighter, The Walking Dead, and even WWE, which is just wild. Plus, it's got crossplay so you can battle it out with friends, even if they're on console. But if you're into Battle Royale games and your PC is basically a toaster, don't worry, I've still got you covered. Super Animal Royale is a super fun, intense Battle Royale, but with a twist. Instead of playing as human soldiers, you control adorable animals in a top-down 2D shooter. Sounds cute, but don't be fooled, because this game gets super brutal. You drop into a colorful island, scavenge weapons, and fight to be the last one standing, all while dodging bullets and rolling around like a maniac. The game runs super smooth on low-end PCs. The graphics are simple but stylish, and the game barely takes up any space. Plus, the devs keep adding new animals, weapons, and events, so there's always something fresh to keep an eye on. So if you want a battle royale that's easy to run but still super competitive, this is the one. I don't know who came up with this game, but seriously, FPS Chess? Like, what even is that? But don't let the name fool you, this game is straight up genius. It takes the classic strategy of chess and throws in these epic battles into first-person shooter duels. So instead of just taking an enemy piece like normal chess, you have to fight for it. The graphics are simple, the maps are small, but the gameplay is fast-paced and pretty hilarious. The fact that every chess piece has different weapons and abilities makes it highly replayable. I don't think I have to explain more, just check it out yourself. Okay, this next one isn't completely free, but you're still getting the papers, these demo, so that helps. And trust me, even just the demo is enough to pull you into this surprisingly deep and emotional experience. It's not your typical game, it's more like a border control simulator where you play as an immigration officer in a fictional, oppressive country. And your job is to check people's documents, make sure everything's in order, and decide who gets to enter and who gets denied. It sounds really boring, but it's not, trust me. Not when people start begging you to let them in because they're escaping war, or when smugglers try to sneak through fake passports. That's what makes Papers, Please so unique. It's not just about matching papers and stamping passports, it's about making tough choices. Do you follow the rules and risk turning away innocent people? Or do you help them and put your own job in danger? The game really gets emotional sometimes, and it makes you think about the kind of moral dilemmas that real border officers might face. Then we have Helltaker, which at first looks like just another simple puzzle game, but trust me, it's so much more than that. The whole game is set around you on a mission to travel through hell and recruit an army of demon girls. Yeah, that's actually the plot, and it somehow makes perfect sense when you're playing. The game itself is a mix of Sokoban-style box puzzles and fast-paced movement challenges, where you have to push blocks, avoid traps, and reach the demon girls before running out of moves. It sounds boring, but somehow it's not. Maybe it's the art, the music, the conversations, but it had me hooked. Every time you solve a puzzle and get to chat with one of the demon girls, you get some ridiculously funny dialogue options, and it just keeps getting better. Plus, it's completely free and runs on basically any PC. So if you like puzzle games with a ton of personality and a little bit of hellish charm, this one's a must-play. For all you Fortnite lovers on a budget, check out 1v1 LOL. Yeah, the name isn't great, but don't let that fool you. This game actually delivers a solid battle royale and building experience that runs on pretty much any PC. It's got the same fast-paced build fights you love from Fortnite, but in a much more lightweight package. So it's got much of the same gameplay and all the essentials without the massive file size or high system requirements. It's got different game modes like 1v1, box fights, and Battle Royale, all designed to give you that Fortnite-style action without the lag. The graphics are super simple, but honestly, that just makes it easier to focus on the gameplay. If you're looking for a way to sharpen your skills or just want a quick Battle Royale fix without frying your computer, this is a solid pick. Then we have Deducto, which is basically Among Us in a fancy office setting. Instead of tiny space beans running around fixing wires, you play as business-suited employees trying to figure out who the killer is. Or if you're the killer, your job is to eliminate everyone without getting caught. The gameplay also works the same way. You complete tasks, hold meetings, and accuse your coworkers of being the imposter while trying to avoid getting voted out yourself. But what makes Deducto fun is those hilarious voice chats, which leads to some absolutely crazy moments. Visually, the game has a simple but clean, cartoonish style, and it runs perfectly even on low-end PCs. Plus, it's free, which is why you are here, of course. Alright, so Doki Literature Club looks like your average cutesy anime dating sim, but don't be fooled. This game is not what it seems. You start off as a regular high school guy who joins a literature club full of charming girls, writing poems, and getting to know each of them, which might sound wholesome, but let's just say things take a very dark turn. Without spoiling anything, this game will mess with your head in ways you won't expect, breaking the fourth wall and turning into something way creepier than you signed up for. The game takes up barely any space and is totally free. But fair warning, this is not just a horror game, it's psychological horror. It messes with you, your choices, and even your game files. So if you love unique storytelling and don't mind a few WTF moments, Unturned is easily one of the most polished and fun zombie survival shooters you can play for free. It throws you into an open world overrun with zombies, where your main goal is to survive by scavenging for resources, crafting weapons, and taking down the undead. The game doesn't bother much with a deep story or complex characters, you're just here to mow down zombies, and honestly, that's exactly what makes it so much fun. Plus, with its blocky, Minecraft-like graphics, it runs smoothly even on a potato PC, so you don't need a high-powered rig to enjoy it. But what makes Unturned even better is that it's not just a single-player survival game. You can hop into multiplayer, team up with friends, or even go full PvP against other players. There are tons of weapons, vehicles, and maps to explore, keeping things fresh no matter how long you play. It's like a mix of DayZ and Minecraft, but completely free. Sheepy. A short adventure might sound like a cute little game where you just roam around as a fluffy sheep, but that's not the case. This game actually puts you through some tough challenges. You'll be solving puzzles, dodging obstacles, and jumping through tricky platforms, all while trying to make it through this short but engaging journey. It's the kind of game that seems simple at first, but once you get into it, you realize just how much effort went into crafting each level. Plus, it's a short game, so if you're looking for something fun to finish in one sitting, this is a great pick. If you love high-speed racing and insane stunts, Asphalt Legends Unite is the perfect arcade racer for you. This game takes everything fun about Asphalt series and cranks it up. You're not just racing, you can drift at crazy speeds, launch off ramps, and sideswipe rivals in the most over-the-top ways possible. And it actually looks really good, and also has a huge variety of cars to choose from, ranging from classic muscle cars to high-performance supercars, each with its own handling and playstyle. As someone who loves game development, I've got to give a shout out to Danny. This guy is a legend, and so is his crab game. It's an absolute chaos in the best way possible. If you've ever wanted to play Squid Game without the real-life consequences or a Netflix subscription, this is it. You and a bunch of players get thrown into different mini-games, all inspired by those deadly challenges from the show. From running across collapsing platforms to dodging explosions, it's a hilarious, fast-paced party game where only one person makes it out on top. And you know what? The game's recently picked up a lot of traction after the second season of the show. If Minecraft and roguelikes had a weird baby, it would be Muck. Another gem from Danny, this game drops you into an open world where you gather resources, craft weapons, and build up your base, all while trying not to get wrecked by enemies. And trust me, the enemies will wreck you, like a lot. This game doesn't hold your hand, you start with nothing. And if you don't figure out how to survive fast enough, well, you are doomed. What makes Muck really fun is that it's a mix of survival and action. You're constantly upgrading, fighting off tougher enemies, and working towards making it through another night. So if you are a Danny fan like me, hit that subscribe button right now. Now, this one's just straight up hilarious. One-Armed Robber is exactly what it sounds like, a game where you try to pull off heists, but you only have one functional arm. And let me tell you, that one detail turns every mission into an absolute mess. You're out here trying to grab stacks of cash, steal jewelry, and escape before the cops show up, but half the time, you'll probably end up fumbling with doors, dropping your loot, or just accidentally throwing your gun across the room. It's like a physics-based comedy disguised as a robbery game, but that's what makes it so much fun. You can play with friends, and it somehow gets even funnier when you're all struggling to pull off a simple robbery. Then we have Fallout Shelter, which is more of a management simulator where you manage your own underground vault in a post-apocalyptic world. And while it's not an action game, it's still insanely addicting. You're in charge of keeping your vault running, managing resources, and making sure your residents don't, die. This might sound easy, but throw in some random disasters, raider attacks, and the constant struggle to keep everyone happy, and suddenly you've got your hands full. What really makes Fallout Shelter fun is that every choice matters. Do you send your best survivors out to scavenge the wasteland, knowing they might not make it back? Do you focus on expanding your vault even if it means stretching your resources thin? It's all up to you. And with that classic Fallout charm, it feels like a proper part of the series. Plus, it runs on almost any PC, so even if you're set up as a toaster, you can still enjoy running your own post-apocalyptic community. Let's talk about one of my favorite free-to-play shooters, BloodStrike. It's a solid battle royale that actually runs on a low-end PC. It takes everything fun about modern shooters, fast-paced combat, cool abilities, and intense firefights, and packs it all into a game that won't destroy your frame rate. You can pick different operatives, each with their own special skills, and just go all out in epic battles. What I really love about BloodStrike is that it doesn't waste time. You drop in, grab your weapons, and start blasting. There's no unnecessary fluff, just straight up action. Plus, it's got a solid movement system, so if you're a fan of fast, aggressive gameplay, you're gonna have a blast. And the best part is that it plays super smoothly. Now, Snake Force is something different. It's a top-down shooter, but instead of playing as just one soldier, you're leading an entire squad. And when I say squad, I mean an actual human snake of soldiers trailing behind you. Every time you rescue a teammate, they join your squad and follow your exact movements, forming a growing chain of gun-wielding army. The game gets super fun when you get into fights with hordes of enemies, trying to keep your squad alive while blasting through them. And since all your teammates shoot at the same time, things can get really wild. The Expandabros gives me serious Metal Slug vibes, and honestly, that's a huge compliment. It's an explosive side-scrolling shooter packed with non-stop action, where everything is basically blowing up all the time. You play as ridiculously over-the-top action heroes, inspired by the Expendables movie franchise, and just mow down waves of enemies in the most chaotic way possible. The game is pure adrenaline. You're running, gunning, and destroying everything in sight with insane weapons and over-the-top abilities. Plus, it's got this old-school pixel art style that makes it feel like something straight out of the arcade era. So if you're into fast-paced, shoot everything that moves kind of games, the Expandabros is a must-play. If you love Overwatch but don't have the hardware to run it, Paladins is your next best option. It's a hero shooter with over 50 champions, each with their own unique abilities. And the best part is you can customize their skills to fit your playstyle. You could be a tank, a damage dealer, or a support player. There's a champion for you. The game's super flexible, like you can tweak your character's abilities with a card-based system, meaning you can adjust how they play depending on the match. Plus, the game modes keep things fresh. It's got 5 versus 5 battles, siege mode, or even crazy alternate game types. If you're looking for a solid free-to-play shooter with a fantasy twist, Paladins is definitely worth a shot 20. Then we have Cryptis. If you love the fast-paced, no-nonsense shooting of old-school Doom games, then Cryptis is the right one for you. It throws you into an intense, chaotic battlefield where enemies never stop coming, and the only way out is through firepower. The game nails that nostalgic 90s shooter vibe, no fancy cutscenes, no unnecessary story dumps, just pure action where you blast everything that moves. Sure, it's not the best-looking game out there, but it makes up for it with its fast-paced gameplay and brutal difficulty. It's a must-play, you guys. If you're into strategy and management games, OpenTTD is the the ultimate time sink. It's a business simulation game where you build and manage a massive transportation empire. From trains and buses to planes and ships, you start with small routes, but as you expand and optimize your network, you can turn your business into a massive money-making machine. And it's super addictive. You're constantly making decisions about routes, pricing, and logistics, and before you know it, hours have flown by. Even though it looks pretty simple, the depth of gameplay is insane. It's perfect for every player, casual, just looking to have fun, or a hardcore strategist aiming for the perfect transport system. OpenTTD has something for everyone. Next up is Realm of the Mad God, and if you're into chaotic shoot-'em-ups, this one's an absolute blast. It's a top-down roguelike RPG that mixes bullet hell mechanics with co-op multiplayer. You pick a class, jump into a crazy world full of monsters, and dodge wave after wave of bullets while spraying bullets left and right. The action is non-stop, and the permadeath mechanics make every run feel super challenging. You lose everything if you die, so staying alive is a big deal. What's awesome is that it's got that old-school pixel art style, so it's super lightweight. Plus, there's a ton of different classes to unlock and experiment with, each bringing their own flavor to the bullet-dodging madness. This game can easily keep you hooked for hundreds of hours without even noticing. Zumbi Blocks 2 is like a mashup of Minecraft visuals with the action of zombie survival. It's got that classic blocky aesthetic, which makes it easy for PCs without a graphics card. But don't let the simple graphics think the game's bad, because this one's packed with tense moments as you scavenge for resources, build up defenses, and fight off hordes of zombies. It's got a surprisingly deep crafting system and a bunch of weapons to choose from, so every survival run can play out a bit differently. Plus, there's something oddly satisfying about mowing down waves of blocky undeads while scrambling to stay alive. If you're a fan of Duke Nukem, then Awol is an absolute must-play. It's built on the same engine, so you get that classic, fast-paced FPS feel, but with way tougher AI and some modern tweaks that make it even more intense. Think of it as Duke Nukem, but cranked up, with enemies that actually challenge you instead of just standing around waiting to be shot. The levels are packed with secrets, the gunplay is satisfying, and the game does a great job of keeping you on edge with its brutal difficulty. So if you're into retro-style shooters that demand skill and strategy, Awol will push you to your limits, and that's exactly why it's worth checking out. Last but not least, we've got Battle Teams 2, a hybrid FPS MMO that throws you into massive online battles with tons of different game modes to choose from. You can dive into classic team-based combat, objective-based modes, or chaotic free-for-alls. There's something here for everyone. The game features a solid selection of weapons, character customization, and some impressive maps that keep the action fresh. It's fast, flashy, and has that addicting competitive feel that makes you want to keep jumping into the next match. If you love shooters but want something a little different from the usual Call of Duty or Counter-Strike experience, Battle Teams 2 is definitely worth a shot. If you've made it to the end of this video and you are still looking for more games, check out this list where I talk about the top 50 free games you can play right now. Thanks so much for watching, guys. That's all for this video. I will see you next time.